Okay, just to get everybody on the surface. Reconvene this meeting. Can I get a mover and a seconder to reconvene and open? Councillor Deal.
Yeah,
Newell, man. All those in favor? And time now being, that was 6:01 PM. Reporting out, council went into closed session to discuss a personnel matter and a proposed or pending disposition of land in Brussels. We would like to acknowledge that the land we stand upon today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Neutral Peoples. Can I get a mover and a seconder for confirmation of the agenda, please? Moved by Councillor Morrison, second by Councillor Wilby, that the amended agenda to include item 1.3 and an additional closed item under section 239, paragraph 2, subsection C of the Municipal Act for the regular meeting of the council dated February 20th, 2024 be adopted, which we already did all that, didn't we? Or does that have to happen now again?
It's just confirming the agenda was amended for that additional closed item that we had already discussed.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? And motion carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest from any member of council, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to declare one under 7.2 as an invoice in accounts payable.
Councilor the clerk. Councilor Morrison?
7.2, I'm in one of the groups with an invoice as well.
Okay, thank you. Councilor McGrath?
Accounts payable.
Is there anyone left?
1799.
Can I get a mover and a seconder for the minutes of the previous meeting, please? Moved by Councillor Steffler, second by Councillor Chartrand, that the council of the municipality of Huron East approve the following council meeting minutes as circulated. That's the regular meeting of February 6th of 2024. Any comments or questions on those minutes? All those in favor? And motion carries. Under our consent agenda, are there any requests to remove any item from the consent agenda at this time? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a little more explanation on the arena, please.
Okay, can you give us an idea of what else it is you're looking for?
Is Elgin out of there, or are we still gonna have to be paying them and then funding these? I forget how many tens of thousands it added up to going forward. The sound system and the heat and the your kitchen and security and et cetera, et cetera. I thought that all would have been part of the 7.5 million, or 8 million.
And that's
Actually, I thought it was.
so did I.
Is it?
Not, it's part of the full or sort of full budget, but it's not part of Elvin's contract, because they provide those services, right? So,
But it is part of what council approved for the entire project. Okay, yeah.
Okay, I needed that clarification. Thank you. But then are we done with Elgin?
Elvin will still be involved because the roof's still in progress, and I speak a little bit to that in the report. May go as far as to the spring as they do that work. They had a good couple weeks there with the weather being so mild, but they got some progress, but I don't believe that they've got it complete. So it'll probably be, unless we get another nice mild spell, it'll be likely once the weather subsides and the roof's clear. And there's some deficiencies, they're still tidying up and things like that.
Well, I do have to admit, I'm waiting for that first rock concert with the $60,000 sound system. It's gonna be good. So,
I just
Councillor
have
Dalton.
a question about the parking lot. I've had a couple of comments about that. Is that kind of included in what we're,
I have not included that additional work. That would
That was
always
just,
be something that we could consider if there was dollars left over. At this
mentioned?
point.
But I know it's in tough shape because of construction, but there was just some people
Yeah,
commenting
there-
about it.
Yeah.
That it's not very nice to get into.
So what I'll call the east side parking will be fully paved. The south side will remain gravel and no change to the north side.
And that's included as well in our
The paving is, yeah,
paving.
yeah. It was included. There was interest in including more paving as part of a potential add-on at some point in time, but we're pretty tight with the budget as it is, so I don't think there's gonna be any dollars left over, but when the dust all settles, we can look at that. consider what might be an option.
Okay, because we had a conflict with the accounts payable, can I get a mover and a seconder to accept items 7.1 and 3 as the consent agenda? Counselor Deal and Counselor Dalton, all those in favor? And motion carries. And can we do 7.2 now, the accounts payable? Counselor Chartran and Counselor Stepler. Any final comments or questions on the payables? All those in favor? And motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Down to planning report consent application C05 2024, and welcome Shay.
So this report is for consent application C05 2024. The subject property is 4529 Montreat Road, and the applicant owner is John Fuller. Next slide, please. So this is the subject property here. The retained is outlined in blue on the left, and then on the right is the severed house. There's a house, a shed, small shed, and a couple silos on the property there. The subject lands are designated agriculture and natural environment and zoned AG1 and into natural environment within zoning bylaw. And next slide, please. So the purpose of this application is for a new lot created under the surplus farm resident severance policy. The severed land is approximately 2.85 acres, consisting of silos, and the retained land is approximately 147 acres, entirely vacant farmland. And next slide, please. The application meets all of the hearing needs official plan surplus residence consent policies. The lot is kept to a minimal size of 2.8 acres needed to accommodate the servicing of the lot and the residents. And the house is surplus to another farm building owned by the current owners. And the lot is kept to as regular shape as possible so as to keep with the tile drainage of the farm. And next slide, please. Just a couple photos of the site there, the house. Next slide. No concerns, no comments received from staff or other agencies, and Maitland Valley Conservation Authority have no concerns with the proposal. Next slide. So as the application is consistent with the PPS, conforms to the Huron County official plan and Huron East official plan, and complies with the Huron zoning bylaw, the application is recommended for approval with the attached standard condition. And I'm here for any questions on that one.
Any questions from council this time? Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Wilby, Councillor Deal, that the council of the municipality of Huron East acknowledge the report of Huron County Planner Shay Stahl dated February 15th of 2024. There's no objection to consent application C05 of 2024, provided the conditions as outlined in the planning report are met. Final comments or questions? All those in favor? And motion carries. Thank you. Huron East Community Improvement Plan. Welcome.
So this is not the first time that you're seeing this community improvement plan. We brought it forward at the December meeting. Following a review from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing and also the community, there were a few minor edits made to the document. So those include a new program for agri business innovation, the removal of the branding design and marketing grant, the removal of the sign design and study grant, the addition of a glossary of terms, and more details about the application process. So those changes have been made, and we recommend that council adopt the community improvement plan.
Any questions of council this time? Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Deal, second by Deputy Mayor. Council of the, that that the council of the municipality of Huron East designate the entire municipality of Huron East as a community improvement project area and adopt the Huron East Community Improvement Plan. Tara, I just had a couple questions when I was breezing through it. Is there any downside to the entire municipality being considered as part of it when you're doing applications for something? That crossed my mind.
Yeah, so municipalities are able to designate an area within a municipality or the entire municipality. We've decided to designate the entire municipality just so that it gives the opportunity, for commercial and industrial property owners across Huron East to apply to programs. That being said, within program guidelines, we can focus our attention on certain areas. So that's why you see the commercial focus area, the industrial focus area, and then areas of future development. So, if we decide, that we wanted to open up a facade improvement grant, we could say that priority is given to downtown businesses. So within that commercial downtown district. Doesn't mean that we might get an application from outside of that area, but it would be up to the committee that is established to decide whether funding would go to that business.
Okay. And I did have another question, but I think that's the next one where you were talking about the logo on the signs and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the next topic. Okay. Any other questions on the motion that's on the floor? Councillor Sharkey?
So at this point, if we approve this plan,
Yeah,
obviously, we haven't decided yet from a budget standpoint how much money we want to put into this.
Yeah.
And which items that we actually want to pick out of all the different ones that are in that plan, right?
yeah, this is just adopting the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Fisher, were you?
I just, similar to your comment, Mr. Mayor, the size of the, project, had concerns there. I'm still undecided. Seems like we're using a shotgun, not bullets to, improve things. That was my concern.
Yeah, my concern wasn't that we were trying to do everything all at once. My concern was if we're applying for other grants, how do you specify a small area when you say that the whole area that you're working on all the time is the entire municipality?
What do you mean by applying for other grants?
Let's say RT4 comes through it and they've got something other than the signage.
Yeah.
And and they're talking, when they were doing when the county did that thing with, helping the businesses with their, what was it, Facebook or something like that to get it
Digital
online.
mainstream.
The digital mainstream. So when you're doing something like that, there were specific areas that the province was looking for right off the bat. And if you wanted, I'm just trying to come up with an example for you. When you have such a broad area, how can you include it in a grant application when it doesn't actually meet the criteria kind of deal? That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, so that's Digital Main Street is kind of a separate thing. So Digital Main Street is, funding through, I guess it's provincial dollars that they use. But it's not, they determine where that funding goes, not the CIP, right? So the CIP is just for these programs that we're introducing. If in the future, I know there's a couple programs here that are municipal driven. So in the future, if there was funding available, from the province to, put towards our parks or whatever, it's actually better to have the entire municipality designated because then we can put that funding towards any of our parks.
Okay.
Right? Whereas if it was just for a park within our downtown area, that really eliminates most of them.
Okay.
So,
You had a comment, Brad?
Just simply, it's sort of I guess I'm trying to think, I lost the word, but the mantra I'm kind of trying to present when I first brought the concept of the CIP is put everything in your toolbox. And then because there's a public process and the ministry has to approve it. You guys can define based upon your program, your CIP. You can target whatever you want. You can target a specific program, you can target a specific area based upon what priorities you establish.
Okay.
So having the whole municipalities in it, this kind of just makes it so that something comes up, you know, it's there, you don't have to necessarily implement it at this point in time. Okay, right, you can target things, and the case I kind of made with Tara Lynn too, is that there might be programs in there where, you know, let's say an investor wants to invest in your property by including the entire municipality, even though maybe you haven't put dollars into a budget for a program, doesn't mean that you're not able to provide sort of tax credits on a program if someone comes forward, because it's in your CIP. Doesn't really have a budget implication other than maybe a little bit of lost revenue. But you can see the longer term picture in terms of that increased revenue with that development. So it just gives you that opportunity to have your toolbox. Now you guys got a full toolbox. You guys basically now can work with that toolbox and pull it out, whatever tool or program you want as you feel appropriate at the time.
And it was nice about having a whole municipality, to use this example, so prior to this, our only CIP that we had on record was in Brussels. And if we wanted to do something with any storefronts on Seaford, you'd have to establish another CIP just for Seaford.
Right.
This way here, you're covered carte blanche, but we can pick where we want to do it.
Okay.
So it is a good idea doing the whole municipality, I think anyways.
Yeah. It's the same, so a community like Van Astra doesn't have a downtown. So this way we could support our industrial businesses in Van Astra, with a CIP such as this.
All right, thank you. All those in favor of the motion? And motion carries. Yeah, this one is yours. Economic Development Fund, application to 2024.
Yeah, so this is the 2024 Rural Economic Development Fund. So this year, as part of the 2024 draft budget, we do have wayfinding signage in there. And there's kind of this question as to what we would put on the wayfinding signs. So currently, our Huron East logo is being used in many different ways. So we actually have 61 variations of our logo. So when you look at current signs in the community, you'll see some that have dark blue, some that are light blue, some that are ovals, some that are circles. It's very inconsistent. So we're looking to apply to the Rural Economic Development Fund to create a new brand, which would include the development of new logo, a slogan, and also a brand toolkit. So that will include, you know, colors and fonts and things that we should be using to remain consistent. So the Rural Economic Development Fund, through the Economic Diversification and Competitiveness stream, has a collaborative marketing and outreach project, which we can apply for branding. And this grant would provide 50%, up to 50% of our eligible costs. So I have noted here that, based on quotes, the project is expected to cost between $11,000 and $16,000. So we would have to provide the matching funds, which would come out of the marketing and promotions budget.
Questions? Councilor Newell.
The cost of the program, that is just to develop a new one. We'd still have 61 problems out there, is that correct?
So this wouldn't be putting up the new sign, like this application is just to rebrand Huron East. Yeah, my next report is on signage.
Okay.
It's applying to another grant. Yeah.
I'll go to Councilor Fisher first.
No, I'll be on the next one, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Signage thing.
Okay, go ahead. Brad.
Just to follow up to Council Newell's question, I mean, certainly there'll be a process over time that we have to look at trying to phase out what an old branding logo would look like, and kind of get it out, certainly in our print media and our you know, website design and all that sort of electronic, digital type media, we can change it pretty quickly. But in terms of, you know, we look at pictures, got a picture of town hall, might take a bit of time before we actually get to putting a new brand up there, but I think before you make this big commitment and investment in dollars, which kind of leads to the next report, sorry. In terms of wayfinding, you want to make sure you've got a brand that you want to carry for you with the next 20, 30 years, because You don't wanna have to go and put all new signs up and then turn around and rebrand and then put new signs up again. That's what we're trying to avoid, so kind of the cart before the horse kind of challenge.
Okay, so next question is, are we gonna register the trademark? Yeah, that's a very serious question.
Yeah, so I think it'll depend what comes out of this branding as far as a trademark, like if you're thinking like a slogan
No.
attached to it or just
No,
the image.
I'm talking about the actual brand itself, because if you don't register it, anybody can use it without our say. And I don't
Yeah.
recommend allowing that to happen.
Yeah, yeah, and it's something that we look at, yeah.
It should be done, and it's not that, well,
It's time consuming.
I've done phrases, I've never done an image, so I don't know what the difference is in cost. So,
My memory serves me correct, it's time consuming. Putting the application through and.
I paid a lawyer.
It's still, but it's time consuming, that process seems like it took forever.
The last time I did one, I think it was $5,000.
And that may seem like a lot of money, but if you're gonna have it for the next, and I suspect if you come up with something, you're gonna keep it for the next 50 years. It's not gonna be a 10, 20-year thing.
Be there long afterward.
So I do not have any mover and a seconder yet. Not yet, moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Newell, that the council of the municipality of Huron East support the application to the Rural Economic Development Fund for the Huron East Community Brand. All those in favor? Motion carries. And now the regional tourism signage.
So the Regional Tourism Organization 4 has partnership funding available for signage and wayfinding, tourism development, research, and digital storytelling. Wayfinding signage is an action item in our economic development strategic plan. And it's something that we've identified as a priority in many reports in the last 5 years. So moving forward with that, in the 2024 draft budget, we have allocated funds towards wayfinding signage. And so we recommend applying to RTO4 for matching funds for this project. They will provide matching funds up to $35,000. We currently have included $25,000 in our draft budget. Here, as far as I know, Huron County is working on a way to try and match funds as well. So if Huron County is able to support the program, we could see upwards probably of $75,000 towards this program.
Okay, I got a couple of questions. One, so because it's matching funds, were we only applying for 25 or were we applying for the 30?
We're applying for the 35.
And then we may have to top it up if in fact we get matching grant. Which I approve of, like, why not ask for as much as you can? We can make that decision down the road if we want to spend it or not.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused at the cost and wondering how many signs we're talking about changing, because I'm gonna say it was maybe around 2005 or so. Before Jan Hawley, whoever our economic development officer was prior to. And we were only talking about signage on the outer borders of Huron East, and at that time, it was gonna run, it was a couple $100,000, and like, we're talking almost 20 years ago.
Yep. So I did receive a quote from Artec Signs, and this quote is based on phase 1 of our wayfinding signage program. So that includes 9 municipal gateway signs, so signs and wherever you enter into the municipality. And it also includes, I want to say, that I have it in the report, I think there was about 50 signs, marking the entrances to communities. So that's, I do have a range in here, just because it depends on, we have 2 options for the size of the gateway signs into the municipality. So the 114,000 is the upper limit. So if we decide to go with the larger sign, that's what it's gonna cost us. There's also, we can add on things, like graffiti proofing, and also reflectivity. So this quote is including reflectivity on the, actually on the signs, on all the signs. And then graffiti proofing as well. So it just, there's a bunch of different options for the signs, so that's why there's a range. It just depends what we wanna purchase.
So all the signs are similar to the ones that were in the report where it's basically a panel and it's a decal or whatever on
Yeah,
a panel.
so it's based on the Huron County wayfinding system signage. I know that Huron East did a wayfinding signage, they did wayfinding signage guidelines back, I think it was 2004. Moving forward though, the other lower tier municipalities in Huron County are using the Huron County guidelines, so I think it just makes sense for us to use it as well to keep the signage consistent. You'll notice in the signage guidelines, there's opportunity for us to use our branding on the headers of the signs. And then there's also the opportunity to incorporate specific community elements in that lower panel where it's blue and white. So we could do, just for example, in Brussels, we could put the Brussels logo as a watermark in the back of that blue panel. So, yeah, it just, again, that's kind of why we wanted to do the branding first, is so that we can get kind of templates for our signage as well, and how to use the colors and all the logos, because we do have 3 different logos in Huron East as well. Brussels, Seaforth, and Van Astra have their own logos. And so we want to make sure that we're able to incorporate those in kind of like an umbrella brand that represents all of our communities.
Tara Lynn, did Artec give you any idea of how long the decal lasts before you end up replacing them?
He did not, no, not in my draft or my estimate.
Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You referred to it and Carolyn referred to the study. I thought, Ralph Laviolette did that,
You're correct.
between 6 and 10. I thought it was my first term of council.
And it might have been.
I didn't know if it was still around under a table leg or something that if Carolyn referred to it, it might have some advice for you or
Yeah.
some assistance.
I have it, it's from 2004.
From 4, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Staffler.
Great job. I like the whole uniformity of, Huron East as opposed to segmenting it out, so that's awesome. What's the airfield program? It's coming right up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, it's a pretty quick turnaround, actually, for both grant applications.
Councillor Chartrand.
So we took the highest, estimate of 114,000.
Yeah.
So how much could we possibly get from the county and from this other program?
Yeah, so RTO4 will only fund up
35.
to 35, yeah, and then Huron County still hasn't
Okay,
provided any indication of what they would fund. I believe they are applying to RED as well for funds for signage. So I would assume it will depend on the success of their application, how much they'll be able to partner with RTO and ourselves.
so this phase 1, if we go into it, we could take that phase and finance it over a couple of years, not do it all at once.
Well, the way we've kind of got it planned out is that phase 1 would include those entrance signs, so the municipality and the communities. Phase 2 would include directional signage, park signage and trail
So that could
signage.
be a different budget year.
Yes,
Phase 2.
yes, we're not looking to do phase 2 this year. Yeah, just phase 1.
Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Chartrand, second by Councillor Deal, that the council of the municipality of Huron East authorize the director of public works to issue, oh, am I reading the wrong one?
Yeah, wrong
Oh,
one.
sorry. You got a new job. That the council of the municipality of Huron East support the application to the Regional Tourism Organization, RTO4, partnership program for wayfinding signage. All those in favor? And then motion carries. Thank you. Now I'm gonna move down to Barry's here. Tender approval. road construction and bridge repairs.
I can speak to it just briefly, just to kind of give council the intent here, so that as council's aware, we always like to get our tenders out earlier. We know that we haven't approved our capital or operating budgets yet. All these projects though are part of, are being funded by reserves, so whether they go forward or not, that doesn't have any impact on our operating budget or our levy. So I had suggested to Barry to make sure we get good pricing to get these out sooner rather than later. And so he's prepared to report, just getting council sort of support to put the tenders out.
Can I get a mover and a seconder for the motion, please? Councillor Newell, Councillor Fisher, that the council of the municipality of Huron East authorize the Director of Public Works to issue tenders for road construction on Sports Drive, Brussels and Bridge, construction, Brussels and Bridge reconstruction to M28 and M13 on Canada Company Road. All those in favor? And motion carries. I see nothing under correspondence, unfinished council's reports, and I'll go to the deputy mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At our county meeting on February the 7th, we recognized 5 road employees for achieving their certified road supervisor certification. Rick Tolles, Daryl Marks, Donald Hastings, and Robbie McClure all got the award that day. The Huron Clean Water Project, there was a presentation from Nathan Squire, I believe. He just wanted to report that over the last year, there was 281 project applications to the clean water for funding. Out of that, there was 277 were approved. 3 of the most popular applications that are made over the year are, there's 141 applications for cover crops and 76 for tree planting and 13 for rural stormwater projects. So it's a very popular program, so it is in Huron County and well used. The Medicine Tongue Bridge from outside of Godrich, their association came before council. They were looking for some funding. Some of the piers of that bridge up there up at Godrich are in desperate need of some work. They need about $700,000 worth of repairs done to them piers over the very, very shortly. So they were coming to council looking for some support. We as county council, as many of you know, we haven't been giving out grants. I think that motion was passed a number of years ago. So, but anyway, we asked for a report from administration, from Michael Blumhagen to come back to our next meeting, just to flesh it out a little bit more. The interesting part of that is the G2G trail comes up to this bridge, but the 2 of them don't work together. They're in 2 different associations. So the Bridge Association has their own fundraising committee, and G2G Trail have their own fundraising committee. So it just seemed to be kind of odd why they wouldn't sort of be working together and sort of going after dollars together. At least that was my thought out of it anyway. And just a news flash at our last meeting, we actually, county council turned it down. There was a full report on it. And at the end of the day, county council turned down the request for $180,000 is what they were actually looking for. So there was a draft plan of subdivision came before county council on the 7th there. It's a big subdivision south of Godrich and to the, just at the outskirts of Godrich, basically. Possible over 1,200 homes, I think, could go in there. So that's, if anybody knows Godrich, I think it's right across the road from, I think they said Murray's Rona, was lumber yard there right on Highway 21. So, yeah, so it could be that now it could be a mix of housing as well, but there could be up to 1,200 single family homes going there. So, another thing on our agenda, we talked about museum space as we keep getting more items brought to the museum. How we're going to deal with that in the future. And the final thing we talked about was there was a motion, we supported a motion from AMO to petition the province to review our funding arrangements because as everybody knows, our commitments are getting outpaced by our ability to tax for them. So anyway, so I think that's everything. And just to follow up, then last Wednesday, February the 14th, we had our budget meeting at county council. And as I said, we turned down that request from the Ridge Association. And we discussed a number of things, and in the end, county council decided, or requested staff to come back with a tax increase of around the neighborhood of 5.54%. We could do that. Yeah, I got it.
That's good news, because that's quite a drop from what it was originally gonna be. Good news for here in East anyways. Are there any other boards, committees, meetings, or seminars that anybody wants to report on at this time? Seeing none, any requests by members? Any notices of motions? Any announcements? Counselor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Coldest night of the year is, Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. I have pledge sheets. If you're not interested in walking, I'd be glad to walk for you. And did Miss Harper explain things to you, Mr. Mayor? I talked to her and was more confused after I talked to her than before about how the money comes to Huron East or stays in Huron East. I asked her to send you an email explaining it.
If she did, I haven't found it as of yet, and I am still doing a little bit of catch up because I just got home,
Okay.
late,
So I
last
mentioned
week.
not last meeting how, I thought all the money was staying in Huron East. And you questioned me on that, rightly so, and all of it isn't, but some of it is. So I'm not sure on that, how it's done.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't be any more definite than that.
Tara Lynn's got an answer.
Well, I could speak to it. So I've been talking to Lynn Harper a little bit about the event. And she had said that, anybody that is registering for the event, they have to indicate where they're walking because C4 is under Godrich still. So they have to indicate where they're walking, and then the money raised by that individual is supposed to be allocated to C4. That was my understanding. So the C4 area.
That's what I thought.
So.
About Brett?
And just to follow up on Counselor Fisher's announcement, coldest night of the year, you might have some competition on your pledges. We have quite a few staff that are participating as well, so.
Good.
Counselor Chartrand?
Yes, some of you may know this, but the Asabo Bayfield Conservation Authority has a new general manager now. His name is Davin Heinbach. We interviewed 7 people, 3 of them were internal, and the other 4, some can come as far as North Bay. And the HR committee decided on hiring Davin. Brings 25 years of experience with him working at Asabo Conservation, so he had his first meeting with us this past Thursday.
Thank you. No other announcements? Bylaws, can I get a mover and a seconder? Counselor Deal and Counselor Morrison. That be it hereby resolved to bylaw 13 of 2024, a bylaw to designate community improvement project area begin first, second, third, and final readings. Signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. All those in favor? Carried. And mover and a seconder to bylaw 14. Counselor Wilby, Counselor Deal. That be it hereby resolved that bylaw 14 of 2024, a bylaw to adopt a community improvement plan be given first, second, third, and final readings. Signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. All those in favor? Motion carried. And confirmatory bylaw, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Chartrand. That be it hereby resolved that bylaw 15 of 2024, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be given first, second, third, and final readings and signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. All those in favor? Carried. Mover and a seconder for adjournment. Councillor Deal and Councillor Stepler. That the time now being 6:40 p.m., the regular meeting do now adjourn until March 5th, 2024 at 6 p.m. All those in favor?